and welcome to another episode of the Ball and All podcast. This is your basketball podcast. It's becoming more of a basketball Africa League podcast as I navigate through this podcasting world. I get a lot more hits on the Basketball Africa League, and I think with the timing of everything and so much sport going on, and myself having quite a few jobs, it's now becoming more Basketball Africa League because it's close to my heart. I do love basketball. I do know that I do cover the NBA as well, and I'll do that probably once the playoffs start. But most importantly, the Basketball Africa League is happening, and so that's more important because I'm an African. We're all Africans. I do this from South Africa, and yeah, we need to support African basketball. But remember, my name is Mpho, and I am the host of the show, of this podcast. Also, please do follow me on Twitter at Mpho. I was also subscribed to this YouTube channel. Loving the Basketball Africa League. I think we're starting now. We're moving on to the Nile Conference, and so today we're going to be doing a Nile Conference preview, where we're going to talk about all the Nile teams in the Nile Conference, and we want to see how that's going to go out. Please, so let's actually have a look at the groups. Obviously, we've seen the 4 teams from the Sahara Conference go through. That was Saleh, that was Reg, that was Monastir, and Slack was the final team to make it into from the Sahara Conference to Kigali in the playoffs, which will be in May. The next group is the Nile Conference, and that is Zamalek, the champions of Basketball Africa League. We've also got Cobra Sport from South Sudan, Cape Town Tigers from South Africa, Petro de Luanda, who came third in Basketball Africa League 1, and then you've also got Espoir Fukash from the DRC, and FAP, who didn't make the semi-finals but lost out in the quarterfinals of Basketball Africa League 1. They make an appearance again. So there's 3 teams who are returning and 3 new teams. So that's going to make it quite interesting to talk about. I think in the Sahara Conference we had 2 teams returning and 4 teams that were new. So that's what you love about the Basketball Africa League. These are champions of their own countries. They go through the qualifiers and you make it in. So there's not, you're still going to want that continuity, but it's not forced. I think they give 6 teams places based on the African basketball standings, AfroBasket standings, or the country's AfroBasket standings, and also their continental glory and historical significance. But let's go to the Nile Conference. Let's go with the first team, Zamalek, the host team. They are returning as defending champions, hosting in Cairo at the Hassan Mustafa Sports Hall. The big question was Muhammad Anas coming back, the Dikembe Mutombo Defensive Player of the Year award, and he is coming back. He was such a revelation, protecting the rim for Zamalek last year. The majority of their team is coming back. They've got a new coach in Will Voigt. They've also made some additions, which will be interesting for us to see. They added Ike Diogu, who was the AfroBasket MVP. They've also got DJ Strawberry, who is from Cameroon. They've also got Edgar Sosa, who's from the Dominican Republic, and Mikhail McClory, I think he's from Michael McClory. I think he's from America. So interesting to see they did. Solo Diabate did move on to another team, so they're going to refresh. And a lot of these teams will have refreshed. So that's Zamalek. I'm expecting them to actually blow the team, win the league. They're playing at home. It is in Ramadan, but I don't think that'll be a problem for them. I think they've been very good, and they were a well-drilled team. And Basketball Africa League 1, they just set it alight. They could do everything on both ends. Could defend well, and their big thing was they could score well. Monastir in that final, Monastir's calling card was defense with Atem Majok, whereas Muhammad Anas could do it on both ends. Solo Diabate also could do it on both ends, and so continuity is, I think they're going to be the number 1. The team that I think is going to be the second best team in this group is Petro de Luanda from Angola. Historical success. They've been one of the most successful basketball teams on the continent throughout the decades, and they're coming back again to try and win it this time. I thought they were a really good basketball team, really strong shooters, especially from the arc. the big thing for them was obviously defensively in that center position to try and figure out how that was, and they've decided to fix that. Petro de Luanda's got Yannick, was it Yannick Mercurio? He's Angolan. He's a center. They're bringing him in. We've also got Andres Correa from Cape Verde, who's also good from a defensive end as well. So they're bringing them in to try and strengthen that team. Most of the squad has stayed, and that's what Petro de Luanda does. They're a Southern African powerhouse, and they do it really well. Then the next team, which is the returnees, is FAP from Cameroon. They've kept most of their team from last year. They had to go through the qualifiers. They won the qualifiers in the West. They beat Slack in the final in the West Division of the qualifiers. Some interesting players that they have there. Almeida scoring 15.5 points in the road to Bal, getting there. Then Dean Lau scored 10.8 points. He's the American in that side. So look out for that. Also look out for a player named Eyag Bida. He was their best player, averaged about 11.5 points per game. They're going to need someone to keep scoring a lot more in chunks in this. But the thing with FAP and Basketball Africa League One was that they were very good defensively. They had a lot of wing players, very rangy, similar to the style of basketball we get from West Africa, where perimeter defense is so great. You've got a lot of wing players, and they use that a lot. The question obviously is, can they shoot from the arc? That's always going to be, and also can they defend in the perimeter? You're going to need some big centers to try and quell the Petro de Luandas, the Zamaleks, from causing you problems. The next team, which is the first of the newbies, that is Espoir Fukash from the DRC. They came third in the Western Division of the playoffs. They beat AS Police. Remember AS Police from Mali last year? They beat them in the third place playoff to make it in. Got some interesting players there. Fulanganga, who averages 19.8 points. Someone to watch out for, actually. He's also very tall. I think he's about 6'10". So that's going to be quite interesting to see how they play out. Obviously, with the new teams, you just don't know where they are. They are the DRC champions. They did get through Bal very quickly. Get through the qualifiers really well. So that's also something that you're going to be looking out for. There's a player called Mutual, who scored 21 points in that third place playoff. So he's the type of guy I'll be looking out for to see how well he plays for Espoir Fukash. The next team is the team from South Sudan, Copa Sport. Loving the fact that we've got a team from South Sudan with a tall Kenyan, Tom Wamakatu, 7 foot taller, tall Tom Wamakatu. Hopefully he'll be able to protect the rim, because that's what you need in Bal. You need to protect the rim. Cobra Sport came second in the Eastern Division in the playoffs behind Beira. So you saw how well Beira did. They didn't make it through the Sahara Conference. It's going to be interesting to see which of these three newbies are going to join the three returnees, or kick out one of the three returnees to make it into the. If they kick out two, means all three of them will be in, but it's going to kick out one of the returnees or join the returnees to make it into the playoffs in Rwanda. Tom Wamakatu averages 10 points. He is 7 foot tall. They had Didion and Ndizeye in their team during the qualifiers. He's now playing for Reg, so they're going to probably have to. We'll probably have to find out what their roster looks like, but it's going to be quite an interesting team. I think in the road to Bal, they were very tall, very defensive. They could dominate the interior really well, and so I really liked the way they played. They were very aggressive in their style of play. So that's also going to be quite interesting. Michael Tang, he shoots 41%. He's their shooting guard. Watch out for him. Obviously, it's on a small sample size, but obviously on a large, I think they'll be hoping he takes a lot more shots from that team. And finally, the team from South Africa. I am doing this podcast from South Africa, so I might be slightly biased, but please do forgive me. I'll try to be as impartial as possible. The Cape Town Tigers, I think they're going to have a baptism of fire, especially these newbies, because it's a step up. And the question is, can they match that step up with Zamalek, Petro, and FAP? I think with FAP maybe, but I think Petro and Zamalek is a whole new kettle of fish. But Cape Town Tigers from South Africa, really good side. They came third in the Eastern Division. It was played in South Africa, in Johannesburg. Good basketball team. Very good fundamentals. The only question is obviously, can they make that step up? They had Ben Uzo in the qualifiers from them. He didn't. He came. He provided some scoring. They also had Mick Kabongo, who did really well when he came. He came in the middle of the tournament, so didn't have a lot of time, but he's there. He should be there. Daniel Prinsloo, 6'10", center, plays a lot of the minutes in that team. He's going to be really important for them from a defensive end. And the question is, how does he match up with Muhammad Anas and all the bigs in this, and like guys like Tom Momakatu in this conference? We've also got Evans Gamapano, who's a scorer, he's a forward. He's their primary scorer, scored 17.8 points and 5 rebounds in the qualifiers, as well as Billy Preston Jr., really good small forward, 16.6 points, 9.4 rebounds. So if they build on that, I think they're good, really good defensive team are the Cape Town Tigers. The question for them has always been on the other side, on the scoring side, but they'll do that. One of the people I've gotten to know on social media, Lebisa Selepe, he's playing there, so good luck to him. He came on, he's really good defensively. He came on in the game that they needed to play to qualify to make it to the semifinals. In those final couple of games in that week, he really did well, and it's good to see that he's in the roster and he's going to be out there in Cairo. So please do fly the flag high, and I hope that the Cape Town Tigers fly the flag high. Well, for South Africa, basketball in South Africa has been largely dead at a professional level for a couple of years. At schoolboy level and at like collegiate level, it's thriving, and at club level, it's thriving. But that step up from club to professional is not there. We need to professionalize our game. This could be a start to have a team compete. Hopefully, they'll make it through. But we'll want all the teams to make it through. So that's why I'm excited for this league. The other thing is, if you look at the Nile fixtures, let's look at the Nile fixtures and give you a sense. I'm going to just take this banner away so you can have we can have a good look. 15 games are going to be played. One other thing about this conference is that 10 nationalities are represented across the teams that are here. If you look at the team, so obviously Zamalek starts with Cobra Sport, baptism of fire for Cobra Sport. Of the newbies, I think Cobra Sport's the team that can match the returnees in terms of Zamalek and Petrol. So that's going to be quite an interesting game to see at what level Cobra Sport is and whether they can defend Zamalek, because I think they've got the size to do that. Then the next game, that starts on the 9th, which is Saturday night, 8 p.m. GMT. So just adjust where you are. I think Central African time is +2. So that's going to be, I think that's going to be like, 6 p.m. South African time. No, it's going to be 10 p.m. South African time. So please do look out for that. That's going to be a first game. The game's going to be late, so we might be podcasting the morning after. The next games are the next day. FAP play Espoir Fukash. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see if FAP and Espoir Fukash, because they played each other in the qualifiers before, were in the same qualifier group together. So that's going to be quite an interesting one there. I think Espoir Fukash, when they played FAP, just trying to get that for you. FAP beat them 70-56. So Dean Lyle scored 17 points in that game. So that's going to be quite something to watch out for. That game is a bit of a revenge game for Espoir Fukash. The Cape Town Tigers take on Petro de Luanda. That's going to be a baptism of fire for the Cape Town Tigers. If you think about the Cape Town Tigers, they get Petro de Luanda, then Zamalek straight after. And only comes a little bit easier when they play FAP, Cobra Sport games they should be winning. And then they close out with Espoir Fukash at the end. So that's going to be quite interesting. But if you look, and that's a tough road for newbies. Whereas if you look at Espoir Fukash, they start with FAP. And then they go to Cobra Sport, so T2 wins that they can have under the belt, ease themselves in. They finish with Cape Town Tigers, but in the middle they've got Petro de Luanda and Zamalek. Whereas obviously Petro and Zamalek are just going to be going through the newbies as well. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this thing goes out. We might go down to the final day for the final spot. That Espoir Fukash Cape Town Tigers match on the 19th at 9:30 at 7:30 could be a winner goes in to the playoffs, and loser goes home game. So please do watch out for that one. I am going to be quite excited for that. But the big one to watch out for, to set your clocks, 11 p.m. GMT, might be 1 a.m. South African time, so that's going to be quite interesting. Zamalek versus Petro de Luanda. That's the game. That's the game. That's the game to watch. I think that's a potential final. Or even I think that's a potential. I thought it was a potential. I think if Petro de Luanda are better than what they are, this is a potential final. And I like this one. I really do. I really, really do like this one. Zamalek Petro de Luanda in the middle of the tournament is going to be quite an exciting prospect. But I'll be back throughout the tournament, starting on the 9th. I'll start podcasting probably on Sunday afternoon to talk through all the things that have happened in Basketball Africa League. Enjoy the first game and enjoy the first weekend. And remember, please do like and subscribe to my channel. Do follow me on YouTube, on Instagram and YouTube. Send me questions, ask me any questions, and excited to have Bal kick off, and it's going to be quite enjoyable. Thank you very much. Goodbye, and lesale kakahiso.